Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Mission for Mental Health. I am your host, Jackie Robinson. Thank you for jumping on here with me tonight. Y'all, I got a good one tonight. I just did a Facebook Live a few minutes ago talking about it because I was sitting back thinking we all experience grief in some form or fashion, right? Like we all experience grief in some form or fashion. And I was so happy when my guest reached out to me and said that he wanted to come on the show and talk about the grieving process and how we can maneuver through the grieving process. Because for those of you that know me and follow me, know I've been grieving for an entire year. I've been grieving an entire year over my daughter. And even though my daughter hasn't passed or anything like that, it's just the fact of her whole situation and the circumstances. And even my therapist mentioned, you are grieving. And it's taken me a while to come out of it. I'm still in it, not sure what phase I'm in. I guess I may learn about it tonight. But, I felt like maybe this is something that I could share with a whole lot of people because I see people grieving all the time. I see people grieving, and it's not necessarily death that they're grieving over. It could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be a whole bunch of things that people are grieving over. And so I was so happy when Dillereg reached out to me and said, hey, I would love to be a guest on your show. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him on the screen. And I just had a little interruption. Y'all heard that door creak? These kids know what I do every night on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. What they doing? Interrupting my show. Anyway, let me go ahead and bring him on the screen for you. I hope you all enjoy him the same way I am. I hope that you all learn something. Okay, so let me add him on. Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, I can. How are you?
I am outstanding. I am looking for my fan. My fan is missing. See, when you have kids, they steal everything. My fan is gone. So I'm going to have these hot flashes.
Clothes, everything. All right.
And how are you? How are you, Mr. Lee?
I am good. I'm great. I can't complain.
Good. Thank you for coming on the show. I really do appreciate you. Absolutely. I appreciate you for reaching out to me and inquiring. I'm very excited to have you here. I hope that people are able to learn something from you. I think they are. I really do believe that they are. Hold on. Let me move my mic a little bit closer to me. Give me 1 second.
No,
there we go. So I can sound a little bit more clear. All right. So how are you?
I'm great. I can't complain. I'm doing great.
You had a great day today?
Today was busy. But it's just one of those days. It's life. You're always gonna have ups and downs. It's just life.
Just life. Great. So I'm going to read your bio. I was going through and I was like, oh, he got an extensive bio. Let me go. Let me make sure I get my big glasses out so I can see this screen and read this properly. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me do a little wipe right here, and here we go. Dillereg, did I pronounce it correctly?
It's fine.
Okay. Dillereg Lee is the owner of Strength to Believe LLC. He is a native of Akron, Ohio, where he graduated from the University of Akron with a degree in business organizational communication and public relations. Over the last 20 years, he has worked in various roles, helping youth and families to achieve greatness together. Y'all heard that? He is helping folks achieve greatness together, right? Okay. As a motivational speaker, he has spoken to thousands of youths and adults on the effects of unresolved issues, defining identity, parenting skills, teens and healthy sexual development, goal setting, drugs and alcohol, and various other topics. That's everything right there. You didn't talk about some of everything.
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
As a certified grief recovery specialist, Dillereg has helped hundreds of grievers complete their communication associated with pain and the loss they are experiencing. He facilitates training for youth service professionals, caregivers, educators, healthcare, human service providers, faith leaders, and community members in youth mental health first aid and Connect Matters Georgia. I told y'all this is a bio now. He is currently employed at Georgia Campaign for Adolescent Power and Potential, where he is training and technical, where he's a training and technical assistance coordinator. Delareg is married to his wife Carla for 16 years. They have 3 kids and 3 grandkids. Y'all give him some hand claps, boy. When I tell you that is a bio out of this world. I'm curious to know, what is Georgia Campaign for Adolescent Power and Potential? I've never heard of them. So what is that?
So that's the organization I work for, GCAP. GCAP is a statewide organization that actually we help young people and their families, giving them information when it comes to sexual health, when it comes to nutrition. It's a lot of different things. So we're in
Awesome.
a lot of different, reaching out to a lot of different counties in Georgia, just helping kids learn more about, and adults learn more
Yeah.
about sexual health, LGBTQ,
Yeah.
inclusion. So we do a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. It's definitely needed in our area.
Yes,
Any
yes,
help we
absolutely.
can get these kids um, to have more self-esteem and
Right.
think about themselves more, think about their futures more. We
Mhm.
need all the help we can get, as we can see all the stuff we see on the news every day, how tragic our children are. Just, they're lost in the sauce, man. They are lost in the
Yes,
sauce.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you are the owner of Strength to Believe LLC. What is Strength to Believe LLC?
So Strength to Believe LLC is my business, and what I do is I do not only the Youth Mental Health First Aid, Connects Georgia, but also the grief recovery. Basically, I work with individuals, helping them to heal from their grief, heal from
Right.
their loss. I heard you say earlier that you're learning that grief is not just about death, but it's also, it could be a loss of a relationship, it could be a loss of trust, it could
Correct.
be, like you said, a loss of a job, it could be a loss of a pet. Grief is a over can be an overwhelming emotion. Um,
Absolutely.
One thing I'm learning is that, um, as individuals, as people, we're afraid of our emotions. We're afraid of our feelings. And because in our society, that's something that we're taught. We're taught not to actually feel. We're not taught to actually communicate and recover. We're
Right.
actually taught to hold it in, or to avoid it, or sex it away, smoke it away,
Correct.
um, all these other things. And so the emotion, what happens is the emotion tends to come out in different ways. So maybe it might come out in somebody overeating, or undereating, or
Hmm.
or maybe being angry, or not being angry at all.
Right.
So we start to see these different things come about, and you know, my job as a grief recovery facilitator, just I was, as an emotional coach. That's what that's what I'm going to call it. As an emotional coach, is to
Right.
help people to balance their emotion to their grief.
Yeah. So I was doing a little research about
Mhm.
grief. I'm experienced my own grief. Everyone knows I started this podcast because my daughter is diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia.
Mhm.
And as a result, she constantly stayed in a state of psychosis. So I think I really started grieving prior to her being arrested. And
Mhm.
I think that it was just the disappointment of all these plans that I had for my daughter, that I saw my daughter doing in the future, and it's taken away by this mental illness. I think I started grieving probably before she got, taken into custody. So
Mhm.
I started doing a little research, and I heard that there are stages of grief. Are you familiar with grief stages?
I am.
Are you able to tell us the stages of grief?
So The
Now,
reason why
keep
I'm
in mind,
laughing.
when I was researching, I saw there's 7 stages, there's 5 stages, there's 2 stages, but I do know that there are different stages. So with your
Yes,
knowledge, are you able to share with our viewers, like what are some of the stages of grief? Like what first happens?
absolutely. So let me explain this. So I'm about to kind of blow everybody's mind. So, um, like I said, I'm certified as a grief recovery facilitator through the Grief Recovery Institute. The one thing that I've learned by being a grief recovery facilitator, that there are no stages of grief, um, because it's confusing. So if you think about it, okay, I go through anger, I go through denial, I go through bargaining, I go through all these different stages. If I believe I'm going through all these different stages, then what ends up happening is, as a griever, I'm thinking like, okay, am I in this stage this week? Am I in denial this week? Or am I angry this week? And so really there are no stages. So Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross actually wrote those stages of not grief for grievers. She didn't write it for grievers, but she wrote it for those people that are going through hospice. So what
Mm.
happened is that as professionals, someone, media, whomever, decided to include those stages into grief. So, if you don't mind me using you as an example, when you talk about your daughter, just think about it for a second. Now, were you really angry with your daughter about going through her psychosis?
I wasn't angry with her. I was angry with the situation of it. I was
So,
angry that I was angry at what was going on. I was angry that this
right,
girl who was so bright and smart and
right,
talented in everything,
right,
that this thing attacked her.
right, exactly. So you
I
weren't
wasn't angry
necessarily
with her.
right. So you weren't angry at her. You were angry about the situation. You weren't in
Correct.
the, and then think about it. It was no denial about the situation either. That
Initially, it was a
because
little denial.
initially,
Initially, yeah, you didn't want to
initially,
believe that this is what we didn't want to believe this is what the doctor was saying about her,
right. But
yeah.
you still had to actually go through, and it was a reality. So
Yes.
what happens a lot of times is that as grievers, we get caught in those particular stages. There's no timetable for grief. So there's no distinct way to simply say like, oh, after a year you're going to be feel better. No,
Mhm.
my mother's been has been dead for over 20 years,
Mhm.
and I could tell you that there's not a day that I don't miss her. There's not a day that I wish she was here to see the man that she raised. It's not a day that I don't wish that she could see my kids. And so, um, in having that feeling and having that emotion, that's real. I can't deny that. And so a lot of times as grievers, we're looking for the stages, but there are no stages. How you
Yeah.
feel is how you feel.
How you feel
We
is how
have
you
broken
feel.
hearts. Yeah, we have broken hearts.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we have to actually go through the process and the steps that are needed to face our emotions, to face our feelings so that we can heal. It's not about feeling better, because I don't think any of us with our grief we're ever going to feel better, but it's about completing the things that we need to say about our situations and to the people that are involved in them.
Um, I can relate with you with that. My father died when I was 24 years old. Yeah, I was
Sorry to hear
24
that.
years old. And and even though I don't walk around in tears all day long, because I mean it's been I'm
Hmm.
almost 52. So he's been gone since like 94. Um I still grieve for him at times because, I do hate that he missed to see. I was a terror growing up that he missed out to see how great I turned out, you know? So
Hmm.
I can relate with you with that when you talk about your mom. And that was a question I was going to ask you, like, which stage is the longest stage of grief process? But you're saying that there really is not a grief process. It's just how you internalize the pain. I think that's what you were explaining.
It's not only internalizing, but it's also it, it's also how we actually work through our grief. Because, like I said, and like you said with your dad, there's no amount of time that's going to take that feeling away. And so the thing that grievers do, that we often do as grievers, I'm still a griever. One of the things that we do, we're either grieving in the past or we're grieving the future. And the problem is that we're never in the present. And so it's about us getting to our present moments, and not always simply being in the past. Or if we do have to go to the past, that I can go to it and not end up being in the corner somewhere
and
crying
staying in
or
it.
it,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So with all that, why I wonder why we feel like we stay in so much pain. Like people relate. Does grief always equate pain?
No, I don't think so. I think um the fact of the traumatic events that we may go through in our lives, I believe trauma is an event, a negative event that happens in a person's life that impacts them. Grief is the overwhelming feelings or emotions that we are left with. Um, if you really think about it, if you take somebody that is a caregiver may go through a roller coaster of emotions.
Mhm.
The emotions might be, um, I miss the person that I was caring for, whether it was a child or a
So you're
parent
talking about
or
like
whoever.
taking care of an elderly loved one.
Yes,
Look, I'm an
yes.
example of everything. Well, I'm gonna be in the program before it's over with. I take care of my mom. I take care of my
Hmm.
mom. She's 86.
Hmm.
And she is definitely not the person that I grew up with. Yeah.
Right, right.
She still got her mind and all that stuff,
Hmm.
but to watch her decline
Right,
um is difficult, because
right.
my mother was one of those ones who worked till she was like 82, 83 years old. She
Hmm.
drove, very independent, went and got her nails, hair done, wore lashes,
Hmm.
just real. So to watch now where she's really she really is dependent on me, and it's gotten to
Hmm.
where now, I bring my sister. If I go out of town, my sister comes in to come and sit with my mom now, because we don't want to just completely leave her by herself. So, and
Right,
I think my sister's watching too, but I get my sister to come in. I get
right.
my sister to come in because, my mom is not who she was. I'm an example of everything. So yeah, so
No,
yeah.
and it's okay. It's
Hmm.
okay. And in doing that, some people, and it's not all caregivers, um, just using as example, when the person, so let's just say when the person dies, the caregiver may have some feeling of relief because guess what? Their person that they were caring for is no longer suffering. They may miss them, but they may have a sense of relief. So it's the roller coaster of emotions, the things that are going up and down, that happens in a griever's life. So
Yeah.
it's usually those unsaid things, um, that really impact our lives the most. So, and once again, I'll just use myself as an example. Um, when it came to my mother's death, I never got a chance to say goodbye. I never
Mm.
got a chance to tell her
Oh,
how I loved her. But through the grief recovery program, um, through the grief recovery program, I did get a chance to communicate that in a safe way. The flip side of that, I have an older brother that we don't really even talk. We don't have any type of relationship at all. Um, Now the thing is, now with that, I got an opportunity to also say how I felt by doing the grief recovery program, and still in a safe way. Because a lot of times, even with grievers, we just don't get a chance to simply say the things that we need to say. Society teaches to avoid grief, and people avoid grievers anyway. Because we're thinking like no one wants to really hear our story. No one really cares about our death. After flowers are gone, people they're no longer around, and so grievers are sometimes going through a process of being lonely, and also going through a process of trying to figure out all these emotions that they're dealing with.
right. Right. So you're saying that it is possible. I don't know. I that would probably I guess I would have to go through some kind of process, because for me, I don't think that I would feel relieved. I would probably always carry with me that burden of not saying goodbye, or that burden of not resolving the grief, resolving the situation. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I don't know if I would come out of it. I don't know how I would come out of it. Um, like at what point is all that unhealthy? At what point is grief unhealthy for somebody? I don't know. Is grief even healthy? Is it a healthy thing to do?
I think, like you said earlier, we grieve, we grieve every day. If you really think about it, um, life is grief as some sort of way. Think about it. If you're a baby, or when we were babies, when we were in our mother's womb, um, being in the mother's womb was comfortable. The only thing that really pushed us out was the fact of the contractions, and that it was time. The mother's body said it's time to go, and
Right.
so then we were pushed out in a comfortable place. We're pushed out, and then we come into a world, and we're crying. So a lot of times, we when you say if grief is healthy, grieving is healthy. It can be healthy. Holding on to unforgiveness and unresolved issues, that's unhealthy. So one of the things is that even with the grief recovery method, it's an educational process. So for instance, um, we talk about STIRBs, which are short-term energy relieving behaviors. So STIRBs um, are behaviors, so such as eating, such as drinking, such as socializing, such as shopping. All those things are normal. But the problem becomes is when we start doing it either excessively, too much shopping, that hey, Amazon boxes are on our porch every day, all the time.
Don't look. Don't be over here judging me.
Sunday, Sunday through Sunday. And so it becomes that retail shopping, or hey, you know what? Maybe we are smoking too much weed. I listened to the lady last week. She talked about it. So your therapist last week. So maybe it's smoking too much weed or too many drugs because I'm trying to escape the pain. So that's called a STIRB, or short-term energy relieving behavior. Or maybe you were doing too much eating or not eating enough. So it's the holding on to all the emotions and the feelings and not releasing them. Um, so I think one of the things that you said just a little bit ago is that you were unsure if you would be able to um how you would
Let go.
process the feelings of and
Mm-hmm.
let go. And
Let
I don't
go.
think you necessarily let go, but I think you process it in a way that's healthy for you to say what you need to say. Um, One of the processes that we go through with the grief recovery is that we do a loss history graph. So we have people actually um, they they place out all their losses that they experienced during their lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Oh.
and the reason why we do that is because we want the person to begin to let those things out. And we have them to place down what the intensity is on the chart. So we all experience grief at 100%,
Yeah.
but the intensity of it might be different. So for me, the intensity of my mom and my dad dying was longer or more intense for me compared to um, you know, I don't know, me losing my GI Joe when I was like 6.
Right. Oh, yeah.
If I
Because
put
that
that
is
on
a little grieving process when you
right,
lose your stuff. Yeah.
right,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So to answer your question, I know I'm taking a long way, but to answer your
No, go
question,
ahead. Uh-huh.
grief is it's normal, it's natural reaction to a loss of any kind. So I believe going through managing our emotions, learning to manage our emotions
Mm-hmm.
can be healthy. Grief just happens to be one of those emotions and feelings that we have to learn to manage.
So basically, grief really never goes away.
No, because we're always in the process of grieving. Because if we're talking about um, as we get older, like you said, I think you said you're 42. I'm 40. I'm
Uh,
46.
I'm almost 52.
Oh, 50. Okay. Okay. All right. My bad. Okay. afford to. But think about if we're getting up every day, it might be an ache and a pain that we're experiencing that we didn't experience when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Grief is just a part of life. It's just a part of life that I think, and I know that we just can't ignore. And a lot of people, as we are grievers, we tend to ignore. We tend to say things um, that are unimaginable to people, or we say things to ourselves to try to simply deflect or move grief out the way. But
Right.
we can't get rid of grief. Grief,
Can't
grief
get rid
is
of it.
it's a part of life. It's a part of life.
Jesus have mercy. Are there are there symptoms of grief? Like, how do you know when you're actually grieving? Or you're just, things happen and you just accept it for it is what it is. How do you are there symptoms that the body goes through to know, okay, I think I'm in a grieving process?
Some of those things happen to be, high blood pressure. People either sleeping too much or not sleeping enough. Um, and then it also depends on what the grieving process is. Was it a death? Um, how do you respond to that? Because some people respond differently. Some people, um, they isolate. Are we isolating because of that? Am I am I putting myself at risk of with drinking too much or whatever it is? And so sometimes it's the little once again, going back to those short-term energy relieving behaviors. Am I doing this thing excessively? So like for instance, I had one person that went through a group, and she was already petite, and she said that she we started talking about stirrups, but she said that she would exercise. So she would exercise. She exercised to a point where her doctor was like, "Hey, what's going on with you? What's wrong?" And she said, "I'm not doing anything, just exercising." And she was to a point where she was like 92 pounds instead of being at a healthy weight. She
Yeah.
lost too much weight.
Too
And
much.
so it's the excessiveness in what we do.
So
If
it
we
can make
start
you,
to
it
recognize
physically can make you ill. It can make you physically ill. Grief can make you physically ill.
grief can make you physically ill, but I think it's not only that, but it's how we respond. If we respond in a way, it's our response to grief that makes us physically sick. It's not necessarily the grief and when it's within itself. It's
Mm-hmm.
the death and divorce and the rejection and the loss. All of those things play a role in our lives. And that's the other thing. For us as adults to help our kids, we really need to heal the little kids within ourselves. If we don't start healing the little kids within ourselves, then that's where we tend to damage our kids more,
Yeah.
emotionally. And it's not placing the blame on us, but
Right.
it's have to recognize, why am I responding this way? Why am I doing this a certain way?
Right.
And so I have to take a look within inside myself
Mm-hmm.
and to start killing that little kid. And that's the point of grief recovery. That's a point of balancing our emotions.
That's funny you say that because um oftentimes we're taught to suppress a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them, girl, you all right? Girl, go on, you straight,
Yep.
uh, girl, you be all right. And you know what our response is? Well, it is what it is.
Is
That's
what it
our
is.
favorite line. It is what it is, no one
Right.
is not.
Right.
But it's just easier to say those words. It is what it is.
Yep.
So I do agree. I don't think our parents and our grandparents or whatever had ill intentions on raising us the way we did to make us
Right.
feel like grieving is wrong or it shouldn't last for a long period of time or suck it up, buttercup, you gonna be
Right.
straight,
Right.
that we never really deal with the actual emotion of what we're feeling at that time. I mean,
Right.
and I've grieved a whole lot of stuff. I've lost a house, I've lost
Yep.
relationships, I've lost a
Yep.
parent, I've lost a
Yep.
child,
Yep.
I have a child that's incarcerated. I mean, I've lost all kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's important to find a program or a therapist that can help you maneuver through these situations before you mess around and go crazy. So
Right.
speaking of, what made you start this program, Strength to Believe?
So what made me start Strength to Believe was, um, I watched a lot of people during 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 the COVID, during the pandemic, lose a lot of things. I've been actually doing grief recovery for some time, even before starting Strength to Believe, and I see people and watch people go through the groups or doing individual sessions, and I'm watching them in pain. I like you said, I listen to what people say, more because of this. And the reason why I started this is because I wanted to help people learn how to process and heal. There's healing um, from our grief, but we have to be willing to actually walk through it and actually be present in the moment to actually want to heal. A lot of people don't want to heal. Um, we
You
some
think
people
so?
I do. I believe that we identify. We don't. It, a lot of us don't know who we would be without our pain. So who would we be without our pain? What type of person would I be without my pain? Because we become comfortable with our pain. So like you said, we're taught not to cry. As a man, we're taught not to cry.
Right.
As human beings, we're taught not to cry because feelings make people uncomfortable. So if I'm crying and it makes you feel uncomfortable, and you don't know how to if you don't know how to console somebody or the words to say, what do I do? I just end up saying something like, if
Girl, you
someone
be all
lost a
right.
child, girl, yeah, girl, you be all right,
It
or
is, it is
hey,
what it is.
it is what it is. Or imagine somebody saying to someone that just lost a baby. They've been trying to get pregnant the whole entire time. Imagine somebody saying to them, "Oh, you know what? Just try again. You're young enough to try again." But
Yeah.
what if this was the one I thought that God was going to bring me? So the main reason, and the other main reason is because I, I know that God told me. He said He wanted me to help heal the hurt and the brokenhearted, and to do that, that's what I want to do. I want to help heal the hurt and brokenhearted. Grief is not grief is not intellectual. Grief is not a mental health condition, but grief affects our mental health. Grief is about a broken heart, not a broken mind. People are not broken, so they don't need to be fixed. So, but their hearts are broken.
Yeah.
So it's helping people heal their broken heart, not trying to help them get through their mind. So grief is emotional, not mental.
Grief is emotional, not mental.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, what is the first step towards healing?
First step towards healing. Um, I believe the first step towards healing is actually reaching out and realizing that you need help. Once again, a lot of us are taught to avoid emotion. We're taught to not to feel, and so we will never reach out. We'll say those words, I'll be okay." Say, "I'm all right." It's other fish in the sea. I'll do whatever I need to do. We see all these terms, but we never reach out for help. So the first step towards healing is actually reaching out, and finding someone, a therapist or a grief recovery facilitator such as myself, that's
Mhm.
willing to help push them through. Because it is a push through,
Right.
to try to get people to actually want to heal and
Right.
actually continue the process.
I just found it funny, and as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I guess you are right. We do tend to live in our pain. Um, you would think that people want to heal and feel, but people want to. You would think people would want to feel better, but when you said that, I kind of disagreed at first, but then when I sit and think about it, like, yeah, there are always people who are living on the downside, like they're always down,
Mm-hmm.
like the Debbie
Yeah.
Downer, like you're always
Mm-hmm.
down, like there's nothing you want to do to change. And sometimes it can be kind of annoying, like
Can be.
bruh, how long we gonna talk about this? Like, bro,
Right,
what we gonna
right,
do? When we gonna move past this? How are we gonna fix
right,
this? When are we? So I
right.
think you're right. There are, and sometimes I do it myself. Sometimes I do it
Hmm.
myself, that I will just sit in this pain and don't really have to be sitting in it.
Right,
Just in it, just because I think I'm just comfortable being there. Just live. I'm used to living there.
right.
I'm used
And
to
and
living
I
there.
think the one thing, and I heard your story, and I listened to your podcast, and I think the one thing that you did, with the situation with your daughter, you got to a point where it was, I feel like I need to talk about this. I need to do something. So doing that particular part is a part of your healing process, because I don't know what you would do normally. I don't know what you do before. I don't know you like that. But, maybe another time you would have just sat in it and just tried to push through and work through. But by doing something, this helped you to find an avenue and a purpose to
Yes.
walk towards your healing. And a
Yes.
lot of times, a lot of people won't do that, because talking about our past pain is scary. It's scary. If someone grew up in an abusive child home, and you have to go back there
Ugh.
to that emotion, to that place, that's tough. If you
Yes, it
grew up
is.
in somebody molested you growing up, you have to go back there. That's tough.
Yeah.
So
Especially when you suppressed it, you learn to
absolutely
block it out.
right. But then in life, so one of the things we talk about is people taking their 1%. So grief happens 100%. There's no doubt about it. Um, so for instance, I take my dad. So for the first 3 years of my life, I remember seeing my dad. For the next 17, no, next 15, he wasn't there.
Mm.
So, we didn't have a relationship at all. So if I decided to um take that pain of my dad not being there, and I decided to, do whatever, not take care of my kids once I have them. Sleep around with a whole bunch of women, and get them pregnant and not take care of my kids.
Right.
You know that. So basically, what I'm saying is, my 1% is my responsibility to my loss. So it's my reaction to my loss.
Yeah.
So it became a point in time where I had to forgive my dad, and I told him that was my 1% responsibility to the fact that he wasn't there. It doesn't take the fact away that he didn't pay child support, that he wasn't there, that he missed out on, so much of my life, my teenage
Right.
life. It didn't take that away, but I had to be responsible to say, you know what, I choose to forgive you, so that I can actually do better with my kids and be there for my family.
Right.
So a lot of times as grievers, we become comfortable with the pain, and then we don't want to take responsibility for our reaction to our loss. So
Mm.
it's the
That's a good
reaction
one.
to our loss too.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard you mention that, we need to talk about our past, talk about our pain.
Hmm.
And I always use my hashtag, healing is in the conversations.
Absolutely.
And healing does come from the conversations. So
Hmm.
tell us about, what if anyone watching or watches in later on, and everyone doesn't watch live. A lot of people
Right.
come back and watch later and things like that.
Hmm.
What does Strength to Believe, the program, what would that look like for somebody? Because some people feel like, I ain't trying to do no 10-step program. I don't know about none of that right there. I ain't trying to do all that. So,
Right.
but what does the program look like for them if they decide, this is something that I think that I would like to do? What would that look like for them?
So the program looks like, so it's about an 8-week program. It is 8 weeks, not 10 weeks, not 10 steps, but it's an 8-week program where basically for the first 3 to 4 weeks we re-educate the griever's mind about what grief is, what they've learned about grief so far. So we re-educate their mind. The last 4 weeks is really about them doing the work. So after we educate them, tell them, hey, and they have homework also. So it's homework with this. So we re-educate their mind, give them the steps that they need, and then the last half of the program, we actually walk through. Like I said, we do a loss history graph. So we look at all of their losses that they experienced in their life up until that point. And good, bad, or indifferent. Then we take one of those relationships, because grief is always about our relationship either to a person or to a thing.
Right.
So we take a look at one relationship that they want to work on, and we work on that particular relationship. Once again, we do a relationship graph. In the relationship graph, because our relationships, you have good moments, you have bad moments. Okay, you have good times in a relationship, you have bad times in a relationship.
Right.
So we have them balance that out, because the one main thing is we don't want someone to bedevil somebody or to enshrine somebody.
Right.
And so for me, that would look like if I enshrine my mom because she was there the whole time and took care of me and I loved her and still do.
Right.
And I can enshrine her and say she did no wrong. But I take my dad and say he wasn't there. He did all. He was
Right.
just the devil. That wouldn't be accurate.
Right.
So we make sure that they're accurate with the relationship. After that, we actually do what is called a completion letter. So we complete the relationship by giving them, it's called, we look at the forgivenesses, the acknowledgments, and significant emotional statements. So apologies, forgivenesses, acknowledgments, and significant emotional statements.
Okay.
And we actually do what is called a completion letter. So in the completion letter, they're writing to the person that they did the relationship graph on.
Right.
So whether alive or dead, and it doesn't matter the length of time, that's what we do.
Okay.
At the end of the letter, they could either say "I love you" or they could say "I hate you," because it's their story. It's their story.
Right.
So however they felt about this person, we allow them to get it out in a safe way. And a lot of times, grievers don't get an opportunity to say the things that they need to say to the person that passed away.
Right.
Or to the person that is still living. Still, and people that have passed away and people that are living, there is two different things in grieving. There's nothing else that we can do. The relationship is ended with somebody that's died.
Right.
But to the person that is living, you might still see them, have some relationship with them.
Right.
And so with that, we teach them to actually do later on, which is called a PS letter. And so they can say, PS, hey, I'm adding on some stuff that you've done or the way that I felt about some things with the letters. So we actually take them through the process and walk them through. I walk them through the process. And as a facilitator, I really don't do anything but just kind of nudge them along or encourage them to continue forward.
Okay. And so this 8-week program, is this a Monday through Friday thing? Is this a once a week thing, or how does that work?
Just once a week.
Once a week. Okay. So
Yep.
once a week for 8 weeks. The first 4 weeks we redefine grief, and the second 4 weeks we focus on how to heal from the grief. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
And so we have a question.
Okay.
This might be somebody you might know.
Can a family go through the program together? So yes and no. And the reason why I say yes and no, let's just say it's a married. Let's just say it's a married couple. They come in. The married couple would have to. They can't share homework together, because what if it's about the other person that they're having an issue with? So sometimes it's better for married couples or family members to kind of go through it a little bit separately. Through a Griffin group or something else, because we want to make sure that everyone's safe. But if it is a couple or let's just say brothers or sisters or whatever, and they are going through the same thing, we tell them not to share the information or do the homework together or anything like that.
Yeah. I can see, and then I can see, like, maybe if we went in as a married couple, I may not be honest.
Right.
I may not be honest because I don't want to, not offend the other person or them
Yep.
getting all deep into my feelings. These my feelings, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Your
Right.
feelings and your feelings, my feelings, my feelings.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we just got to agree to disagree. You know,
Right.
and I can see that being an issue. Siblings probably maybe work
Mm-hmm.
well together if they were grieving the loss of their parent or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, or
Yep.
but even with them, I don't know. Sometimes it may be different because each child may have a different experience with their parent. You know,
Absolutely.
but what about
Yeah.
if your grief is not death or loss of a relationship? It could be loss of property. Like I foreclosed on the house.
Mm-hmm.
I was devastated and embarrassed when I
Mm-hmm.
foreclosed and had to file bankruptcy. I was like, Lord have mercy. What am I come
Yeah.
to? I got all
Right.
these kids back here. What am I gonna do? I'm never gonna be able to, do this and that again. I'm never gonna be able to have this again. But I did,
Right.
grace of God bless me to,
Right.
rebuild, of course. But when you're going through that loss process of you no longer have your own, even my mother, I remember my father was an alcoholic. And
Mm-hmm.
so they raised me in this beautiful house in California. And my father was an alcoholic and he stopped working because alcoholism had taken over. So my mom is
Mm-hmm.
the only one working, paying all the bills. And then the next thing you know, they foreclosing. You foreclosing on my childhood home. This is the home
Right.
I'm supposed to be able to go back to. When I want to come back home to visit, this is the house I'm supposed to be coming home to. Not,
Right.
not nothing. You know what
Right.
I mean? So I know how that process. I know my mother probably, but she comes from that generation of, well, you just got to suck that thing. I don't even think I've ever seen
Right.
her cry. I never
Yeah.
even seen a lady cry. Maybe one time in my
Right.
whole life. I think I seen her cry.
Right.
So that's how I learned it. I've
Right.
learned to cry a whole lot since I started going through therapy and trying to heal through
Mm-hmm.
certain things. I never used to cry. I would just suck that thing up and be like, it is what it is. Or, I cry for attention,
Right.
but now I just be, and I ugly cry with it. But, I feel better sometimes after I let that stuff out. So,
Right.
so I get
Right.
it. Yeah, you may not want to bring the entire family in, and you may want to.
Right.
Are these sessions covered by insurance, or is this something that you do out of pocket?
It's something for right now. It's something that people can do out of pocket.
Okay.
They can.
All right.
And the one thing about it is it can be either done as a group or individual. So yeah, so it can be either done with a group or individual.
And all this information they can find on your website.
Absolutely, absolutely. My
So
website is www.strengthtobelieve.com. You can go there. You learn about grief recovery and learn about what we do at Strength to Believe.
right. So I know that we mentioned before that Mrs. Lee is a life coach. Do you all do this strength to believe together, or is it just you?
Right now, it's just me.
Okay.
Hopefully, I can bring her on at some point in time, bring her life coach skills on,
Yeah.
and we could do it together. So
Yeah.
it's important to have other people to help out because
Absolutely.
I do believe in therapy. I believe in therapy. I believe in having a life coach. I believe in having people around. What do they call it in social work? Wraparound services. I believe in wraparound services for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, look, she gave us a smiley face.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, where one thing I'll say that I admire about about the younger generation is that
Hmm.
they are serious when it comes to their mental health. Like
Yes.
they are, you mess with them a little bit and they're out. Like they
Right.
believe in focusing on themselves,
Yes.
and
Yes.
our generation and older are starting to take some of those nuggets from those young people. I
Hmm.
also agree. There was a time I thought therapy was for suckers, Child, please. Ain't nobody got time. I ain't got time to be giving you
Right.
all my money, boo. I ain't doing that.
Right.
I do this on my own. I'm
Right.
Gucci. I got it. You
Right.
know,
Right.
but as I've gotten older and gone through so many things, I absolutely
Hmm.
agree. You got to have a life coach to help you, keep your life in line and your chakras in
Yeah.
order. You need to have you a therapist to, give you the
Right.
tools that you need when you're about ready to go ham on your job
Right.
and you shouldn't.
Right.
You got to
Right.
have, you got to have a system like grief, strength to believe, to help you get through
Mm-hmm.
pain and hurt and grief,
Yeah.
to help you manage that so you don't find yourself in a dark place where
Right.
you end up, masking your pain with substance
Yep.
and
Yep.
alcohol and drugs and
Yep.
sex and all other crazy things. So I absolutely agree. You need a fitness coach, somebody to help you keep
Yeah.
your,
You do.
keep your weight, your
Nutritionist.
knees and all that stuff in order. Like, you
Right.
need a whole wraparound system as
Right.
you going through this life. And then
Right.
of course you need your Bible. You need that
Yeah,
first,
you do.
to
Absolutely.
keep the word in you so
Absolutely.
you can prepare yourself for your eternal life. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, that's
Absolutely.
all we're here for anyway. We're here for a minute. And
Right.
you want your stuff in order so God will let you in the kingdom, so you can have eternal life, so you can live
Right.
great in your next go around. You know what I'm saying? So I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely agree. So I really do appreciate you. If
Thank
any
you.
of you, if you can see, you all, I have the ticker down below. Where am I at? See the ticker down below? Look like the emoji. There you go. The little brown emoji, the thumbs, the pointer down emoji.
Right. Point it out.
Look
Point it
down
out. Right.
below.
Right.
He is his website is strength www.strengthtobelieve.com. You can also follow him on his social media at Strength to Believe Now on Facebook and at strength underscore to underscore believe on Instagram. So I have all that rolling below
Mm-hmm.
so you all can reach out. I think that we all need to be a part of this. We also support Black business, y'all. We support Black business.
Right.
We ain't knocking nobody
Absolutely.
else's business, but I'm just saying,
Right.
we
Right.
support Black business as well. So if you are looking for something in that department, reach out to Delareg Lee. And I'm sure at some point he is going to pass you on to his wife, Mrs. Lee, for her life coaching skills. Do you have closing remarks? Anything you want to close with?
I just want to simply say, I want to thank you for allowing me to be on here. And I want to just simply say to the people that will watch or are watching right now is that, let's begin to start healing. Let's not be afraid of our emotions, not be afraid of things of our past. Let's begin to start processing and walking this thing through. And let me help you develop the skills that's needed so that you can be better. It's about being better. Absolutely. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. 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 I agree. We can do so much better, y'all.
Yeah,
Life is short.
it is.
You know what I mean?
It
Even when you
is.
talk to people who are in their 80s and 90s, they say life is short. It
Life is
goes
short.
by so fast. And while we're here, why not be happy while you're here
Yep.
on this earth? Enjoy
Yep.
it. You don't have to live full of stress and animosity and anger and bitterness, and you don't have to do all that. We have resources
Absolutely.
available for you all to work through those situations. You know what I always say, healing is in the conversation, right?
Absolutely.
Healing's in the
Absolutely.
conversation. Well, I want to thank all of you for giving me an hour of your time. You all know the housekeeping rules. I need you to subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe, like, and share. I started this podcast because my goal is to reach people, to let them know that it is okay to have mental health and mental illness. It comes in all forms. There is no prototype for it. So I bring people on to share their stories so that you too can heal. I also bring professionals on the show, y'all. I bring professionals on to help you and to help me maneuver through our mental health journeys. So please subscribe, like, and share. Follow me on all my social medias. Mission for Mental Health on Instagram. I am Mission for Mental Health on Facebook. I think I put a one at the end of it, of one of those, y'all, of them, the Instagrams, because I'm trying to merge all this stuff. I need a kid to come help me with all this social media stuff. And then I got to start doing the TikToker. So I'm gonna start
TikTok,
working.
TikTok.
Yes, I'm gonna start working on the TikTok, y'all. But if you or if anyone you know would like to be a guest on my show, please reach out to me. You can email me at missionformentalhealth@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Instagram. You can hit me up on Facebook. Y'all can Google me now. I'm Googleable. You can just call me, text me, do you. So if you or anyone that you know would like to be a guest on the show, I would love to have you. I want to thank you guys for tuning in this week. I will see you next week. Right now, my Wednesday is open. Wednesday is open. So,
Okay.
oh, I'm lying to you all. My Wednesday is not open. I am actually going to see my daughter. I have not seen her in a year. So, I will be flying to Miami to go see my daughter for my hour and a half visit. As soon as I get this flight stuff taken care of. I'm supposed to leave on Tuesday, but I think it's going to be Wednesday. I'll be coming back Wednesday. Not sure. So I don't think I'll have a show on the 14th, but the following week, y'all, it is wide open. So I'm gonna end the broadcast. Mr. Lee, stay on with me for 1 second. You all
No problem.
enjoy your week, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.